All right, love to get started on today's webinar. This is Brian Margolis, Simplify Your Strategy, Magnify Your Results is the title of the webinar. 5 shifts to running a simple, low stress, more lucrative business. So this webinar is for talented sales professionals, entrepreneurs, and any other results-based professionals who are good at what they do and they want to kind of go from being just good, just talented to actually being successful, being uber successful and growing their income. But I want you to understand this webinar was originally designed for sales professionals, and the reason I tell you that is a lot of all the case studies I use here, a lot of the examples I use deal with sales professionals. But again, these are sales professionals who are essentially solopreneurs. They're entrepreneurs because they run their own territories and things like that. I have no shortage of case studies, of work I've done with financial advisors and lawyers and entrepreneurs who've taken seed money and, you name it. I've helped them with what we're going to talk about here. So this is for anyone who is results based. So in the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to cover how to crush your income goals, even if you've never been a top earner. We're going to talk about how to effortlessly cut through the clutter so you can stress less and actually feel in control of your business. We're going to talk about how to identify the exact activities that you need to focus on to earn more by focusing on less. How to go from being good to being successful so you can finally earn what you're worth. How to simplify your business so you can stress less while actually selling and earning more. We're going to talk about how to get off the emotional roller coaster of good and bad sales weeks and actually start enjoying your work and personal life again. And we're going to talk about how to do all of this, even if you're not naturally disciplined or organized. And my promise to you is that by the end of this webinar, you're going to understand the 5 shifts that you need to make to run a simple, low stress, more lucrative business. Now, I always feel like Captain Obvious when I say this, but it still needs to be said. Despite the amazing results for myself and many of my clients, some of who you're going to learn about here, they're not typical. Why not? Because they're extraordinary people who actually made the shifts in their business that I'm going to talk about. They've earned these results with a willingness to change and a desire to improve their lives and business. Your success, or lack thereof, when implementing these shifts is up to you. Now, before we move on, I just want to check in with you to see where you're at and ask, does this sound like you? Have you grinded your way to a certain level of success, but no matter how many more hours you work, harder you grind, or ideas you try, the needle no longer moves? Does it drive you nuts that much less talented people in your business are earning more than you, and you have no idea how they're doing it? Do you spend your days reacting, bouncing around like a ping pong ball, and changing directions with every email, phone call, or idea that pops into your head? Do your days start out with good intentions, but quickly blow up in your face and end in exhaustion and little progress? Do you beat yourself up for not being disciplined or having a structure or some kind of process to your business? Do you ride the emotional roller coaster between thinking you figured it out and then throwing your latest idea in the trash? Are you secretly afraid if you don't figure it out soon, you'll be stuck at this income ceiling and frustration level for good, and that your job may be in jeopardy? If any of these sound like you, I have good news. They're not the problem. They're just symptoms. The real problem is that you haven't made what I call the shifts. And I'm going to talk about these in a minute. But I want you to know that once you make them, you'll run your days with a clarity and peace that few professionals ever experience. You'll end every week knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that your business is moving in the right direction, and it's just a matter of time and pressure until you hit your income goals. Operating with simplicity and leverage will become so normal, you'll feel like earning more is a superpower that you can turn on and off. You'll monitor your business based on reality, not emotion, and finally get off the emotional roller coaster. You'll have more money to enjoy and more time to enjoy it because when the workday's over, you won't feel the guilt or urge to do more. And as your income grows and your stress drops, you're going to wonder how you ever operated any other way. And finally, you're going to run your days instead of having your days run you. So before we dive into the shifts, let me take 2 seconds to introduce myself so you know who I am and honestly why the hell you should listen to me. I want you to feel good that my ability to help you is no longer on trial. Again, my name is Brynn Margolis. I'm a former environmental scientist turned entrepreneur who's been running my own businesses for over 2 decades. I've worked with everyone from individual sales reps to Shark Tank entrepreneurs and Fortune 500 companies, and I average well over 1,000 individual coaching sessions every year. My system to run a simple, low-stress, more lucrative business has helped multiple individuals become 7-figure earners and is now licensed by some of the largest companies in the world to create strategies for their sales teams. So, how did I discover these 5 shifts and realize they were what was holding most people back? Well, early on in my entrepreneurial career, I was able to grind out some success, and I use the word grind because it was mostly just based on my natural talents and some skills I had and working really hard. But the reality was I couldn't get to the next level. And so the first major step for me was when I realized that there was a big difference between being good at something and being successful. Now, let me say that again. There's a big difference between being good at something, which you might be, and being successful. And so I began searching for, I guess, the secret, the key, these things that I thought maybe eluded me. And after more books, seminars, courses, and years of trial and error than I care to admit, I was able to crack the code for myself. And so as my results got significantly better, people who at the time I considered more talented than me, better than me, so to speak, started asking me for advice. And I would give it to them, but I would give it to them hesitantly because I assumed these things were obvious, that they were already operating this way. And what I couldn't believe was the response I got. I quickly realized that I wasn't the exception. I was the rule. Most people were just grinding it out. Most of them were flying by the seat of their pants, and they were just as big of a mess as I used to be. And so before I knew it, these salespeople, these entrepreneurs, and these other professionals who actually made the shifts, they started crushing it. And now I have the privilege of hopefully saving you the years it took me to figure this out by sharing the 5 shifts that you need to do to create and run a simple, low stress, and much more lucrative business. So, shift number 1, fly in the right direction. So, I'll apologize in advance if you're wearing a hashtag grind t-shirt or hat right now. Look, I'm about to put the hustle and grind culture to bed. The reality is this: talent and hard work aren't enough. You need an actual strategy that points your skills, talents, and work ethic in the right direction. All the hustle and grind in the world won't compensate for not having an actual strategy. You'll just be more exhausted and frustrated than before. The best way I can explain this is to talk about flies. Look, here's the reality. Flies are pretty good at flying. I mean, we literally name them the fly. They're fast, they're strong, right? They can maneuver quickly in the air. They're great flyers. So why does one fly end up dead on a windowsill and another one just zips out the door? And the reason is simple. The one that winds up dead on the windowsill took those great talents, that great strength, that great work ethic, and just kept flying harder and harder and harder and harder in the wrong direction until it collapsed with exhaustion. It had no strategy. The other fly takes the exact same talent and work ethic, turns itself a little bit, points that talent and skill in the right direction, and flies right out the door. Same talent between the two flies, same work ethic, same skills. One had a strategy to use them for success. So let me give you my first case study here, Louise. I want to introduce you to her. When I started helping her, Louise was making good money, but she was stuck at the same income level for years. And no matter how many calls she made, emails she sent, miles she drove, the sales results were just the same. She had hit the ceiling, and that's exactly what she was thinking. Maybe this was just the ceiling for her job. And so what we did was we put in place a simple strategy that told her exactly what to do each week. And when we did this, she quickly broke her income ceiling. 2 years later, she doubled the income that had taken her 8 years to build, and then eventually went on and became a 7-figure earner. And the reason I put up this email that she sent to me not too long ago, because the coolest part of all this is that she did it by simplifying her business and focusing on less, not piling on more. In fact, the index card she's referring to here was actually folded up in her wallet. I remember she'd often pull it out and show other people who would ask for advice. And look, just like most people, Louise was closer than she thought. We just had to point her in the right direction. The second shift you need to make is you need to manage your focus. Now, why is this a shift? Because most people try to manage their time. And for a results-based professional, this is a big mistake. So here's the thing. Focus, not time, is your true limiting resource. On any given day, you're going to run out of your ability to focus on cognitively demanding activities long before you run out of time. And everyone has experienced this, which means if this ability to focus on these important tasks is your limiting resource, that's what has to be managed. Your limited mental energy that you have to focus is what has to be managed. The activities you choose to focus on then should be high leverage activities with a big return on investment. You've got to get rid of the any benefit mindset, okay? See, when people don't understand how precious their focus is and what a resource, a limiting resource every day it is, they have this mindset of, look, as long as I'm doing something that's regarding my business, as long as I'm doing something that could have any benefit, a positive impact on my business, then I'll say yes to it. Look, saying yes to something is the dumbest thing you can do just because it has a positive impact on your business. The right question to ask, well, the wrong question is, will this have an impact on my business? The right question is this the best use of my time and mental energy? So let me give you an analogy. If you think of your mental energy, that ability to focus, as a gas tank that's going to run out, a full gas tank when you start the day. Look, you can drive from wherever you are to Pittsburgh, and you can take the scenic route. And at some point, like everyone, you will run out of gas. And you can also take the highway. And like everyone, you will eventually run out of gas. The difference is, for that same exact tank of gas, by driving on the highway, you're getting a lot further. All right, you're getting a lot further with that. Let me tell you about this in terms of skills. Look, everyone should be getting better. Okay, there's a good chance that you're a few skills away, right, or from sharpening a few skills from being really good, from going next level. But when most people think about training and getting better, they see any training relevant to their industry as something they should do. Here's the thing, it's not about just learning, it's about choosing the right thing to learn. Meaning, there are certain skills in your business that if you focused on the right skill to get better at, to go from like a 4 to a 6 or a 6 to an 8, that jump in skill level will have a much bigger impact on your business than maybe taking another skill and going from a 1 to a 3 or an 8 to a 9. So you've got to choose, and that's why I have this word underlined. You've got to choose where you put your focus. Look, the time management is designed to get everything done. Okay, I get it. Focus management is designed to get results. The biggest mistake I see when people show me their strategies is that they're designed to get everything done, right? They look great. They look great on the calendar. They look great on paper. The problem is, as a results-based professional, you don't get paid to get everything done, to cross every T and dot every I. You get paid for results, and your strategy should reflect this. All right? Because if you go in terms of time management, you're going to be doomed to this vicious cycle of working a lot of hours and chasing the impossible, trying to get it all in and never breaking through. Focus management is how you earn more by focusing on less. It means you prioritize results over activity. Now, I want you to meet Chris. Chris was a great example of this. He had plenty of sales experience and was probably the hardest worker I knew. The fact that he was struggling personally and financially just didn't make sense based on his talent and his work ethic. And so we applied focus management, and he stopped obsessing about what time he did which activity, how filled his calendar was, how many hours he worked. Instead, he used his limited mental energy to focus on executing on the handful of activities that we determined had the biggest return on investment. And he quickly began growing his sales, earning company awards, and he's now a multiple six-figure earner. And recently, I got this text from him talking about this, and look, he still remembers this conversation we had like it was yesterday, to just stop managing his time. Stop making everything look good and getting everything done, and make sure it was more about using his mental energy and that limiting resource on the things that returned the biggest results. All right, the next shift. Use the secret weapon, the pillar system. All right, I'm not a big fan of this is secret or that secret, but if we're going to call something a secret weapon, it's going to be the pillar system. So if you think about the old way, or maybe the way you're currently running your business, all right, you're going to set big goals. All right, you're going to get excited. You're going to have this, especially at the beginning of the year, you're motivated, you're pumped, and for whatever reason, you're just going to add 20% to what you did last year or 40% to what you did last year. So you set big goals. You make commitments and plans on how to hit them. This year, I'm going to focus more on that, and I'm going to double down on this. Then you motivate yourself. When you need that motivation, you use videos and seminars and whatever works for you. And obviously, you monitor your results constantly. You're always looking at your sales, your new customers, what have you. And then when those sales maybe aren't where you want them to be, you make more calls and you send more emails and you put up more social media posts. You're consistently hunting for these great ideas, these amazing scripts that are going to take you to the next level. And if you just keep grinding, things might break your way. And if you just keep searching, you could find the idea or script that will blow up your business. But here's the thing. This way of doing things will have you working way more hours than needed, because your answer to everything is going to be to do more. And the thing is, monitoring only outcomes like sales is going to have you changing directions constantly. Every time you have a bad week or a bad day of sales, or you read about a new idea. And so despite what you may hear, setting goals is not the key to success. That's the funny part. It is not the key to success. Despite what you may hear, all right, from other people, the reality is successful and unsuccessful people have the same goals, right? Do successful people set goals? Yes, but so do unsuccessful ones. Think about a NASCAR race. Look, the driver that finishes first and the driver that finishes last both have fast cars, and they both have the goal of winning. Okay, they both have the goal of winning. So it's not the goals that they set. You see, what I'm describing for most people, how they operate, it's just hope and pray. And hope is a terrible strategy. Look, every December and January, I do these national sales meetings for these companies where I train their sales teams, and everybody's fired up, and this is their year, and this is the time, this is the finally the time they're going to make it happen, and all this stuff. And so they tell me about their big goals, but when I ask them, well, how are you actually going to hit those goals? They give me words like, well, this year I'm going to focus more on getting in front of the right people, or I'm going to do more of this or that. And they're using all these words that just have no agreed upon definitions, right? Like, how do you know when you're when you're done focusing more on something, right? These are just loosely defined goals at best. And so what I explain to them is, look, I'm glad you're excited. I'm glad you have big goals and you want to focus more on getting in front of the right people, but we've got to reverse engineer that to the point where you know exactly what you have to do each week in a way that we can cross it off, see if it's done, so you are getting in front of the right people more. All right? So again, this hope and pray strategy, it's just not the way, and you know it. So let's talk about the new way. The new way focuses on the process, not the outcome. All right? The new way is to create a weekly strategy of predetermined, high leverage activities that can be measured. Let's define measured, meaning at some point during the week, you can cross them off. You know it's done. If you can't cross it off, if you don't know when it's done, it's not measurable. All right? So we create a weekly strategy of predetermined high leverage activities that can be measured and whose completion is 100% in your control. These are not goals. These are not hopes. These are things that you decide whether they get done or not. And we call these activities pillars. And the way the pillar system works is as follows. We're going to take every activity that you could do with your time, all right, which is there's no shortage of this. And we're going to run it through some criteria, and we're going to think about it. What can be measured? What's high leverage, right? What's in your control? And what's going to come out the other side is a set of these activities, a set of these pillars. And it should be a short enough list so they can literally fit on an index card. And the idea is, because these are in your control, every week when you execute on your pillars, despite that week, I don't care what that week's results were, what the sales were that week, okay, what these lag indicators were, you know, as long as you execute on those predetermined pillars every week, it's just a matter of time and pressure until you hit your goals. And this is what we call the Friday night feeling. Again, knowing that despite that week's results, good, bad, indifferent, you did what you needed to do and your business is moving in the right direction. All right, so let's talk about why the pillar system works. All right. First of all, it predetermines exactly what you should focus on each week. Because in the heat of the moment, in a state of being reactive, the most important things to do will always lose out to the urgent, which is why the pillar system doesn't leave it up to chance. It doesn't care what you think is the most important thing to do at a particular moment based on your current mood or the last email you read. Instead, it identifies these vital high leverage activities ahead of time so that when you execute on the strategy, the right things automatically get done. The second reason it works is that it automatically incorporates success principles into your business. See, although we may understand tried and true success principles such as the 80-20 rule, productivity over activity, working on your business, not just in your business, let's be honest, very few of these principles are consistently incorporated into our day-to-day activities and decisions. The next reason it works is because it measures progress accurately. Look, here's the reality. When you measure your progress based on outcomes, sales, new customers, these things that are lag indicators, right, that work on the compound effect, you're not being accurate about your business. So what'll happen is, look, You could do all the right things one week. You can do all the right things. And for whatever reason, the sales don't land, the new customer doesn't sign up, the person doesn't buy a subscription, whatever it is. Okay? And the problem is, if you're only looking at that, you may change directions when you don't need to. Just the compound effect hasn't taken over. And you can go in the other direction. You might have a week where you take a 3-day vacation. On day 4, you're at a conference, and day 5, you're just catching up on emails. And for whatever reason, some account you've been working on for a while lands, and you think you had a great week. What's your strategy going to be moving forward? Take 4 days off every week, right? So it measures progress accurately. And then finally, it aligns your goals with what you actually do. Sounds funny, but if you, as someone, as a second party that talks to professional salespeople all the time, when you ask people what their goals are versus you watch what they do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, they're oftentimes not in alignment, and we want to make sure that happens. So let's talk about Andy. Andy's a great example of this because he was a super talented guy, had a lot of weapons in his arsenal, right? He hustled, he threw everything he had into his job. And when sales were good, he thought he finally figured it out, riding high. But when sales would even drop off for a little bit, a day, a week, he would start questioning what he was doing and start looking for another way, a better way, right? So after becoming less obsessed with these daily sales numbers and focusing on completing the pillars, that's where his focus was. He focused on completing the pillars that we identified. He actually shot up to number 1 in his company and was promoted into management shortly after. I mean, this text that he sent me, right? Pillar system was and still is a complete game changer for me. All right? Complete game changer. Not just looking at lag indicators at sales, but focusing on the right lead indicators, the right activities to do. So let's just do a quick recap of where we're at. At this point, you know you need a weekly strategy that tells you ahead of time exactly what activities to direct your limited focus on. And these pillars, because that's what we're calling these activities, these pillars whose completion is in your control have to be high leverage, big return on investment, and measurable. And so now what we want to do is we have the strategy. We want to now look at how do you execute on this simple strategy consistently so that you can grow your business without grinding harder and putting in more hours. Because identifying the right things to do is critical, but we have to be executing on them consistently if we want the results. And that brings us into shift number 4, leverage the super habit. Look, here's the reality. Any strategy that requires continuous willpower, motivation, or discipline will eventually fail. Okay, our entire lives are proof of this. The idea is that most people think is that you have to be super disciplined to succeed. And it's not true. It's a myth. Okay, it's a myth. Look, in order to do something consistently over a long period of time, you've got to work with human nature. You've got to create a habit. The problem is intentionally creating a whole bunch of new habits, especially at once, it's extremely difficult. And so the key is instead of trying to create all these little habits and all these things you have to do and getting frustrated and bailing, is you want to create one super habit. Okay, one super habit. The habit of pillar execution. Meaning, it's not about each individual pillar becoming a habit or everything you do becoming a habit. You create one habit of pillar execution, meaning you have this open loop in your head every week that has to be closed, this itch that has to be scratched, right? And that is executing on your pillars, whatever they are. And once that becomes a habit, the world is your oyster, because whatever pillars you identify as your business changes and things need to be adjusted, you know they're going to get done because the habit is already built. Let's talk about Brynn. Brynn, an external saleswoman, when she started working with me, when I started working with her, she had a husband who worked full-time, and she had 2 kids under the age of 3. I was borderline ready to tell her I can't help her, right? But here's the reality. She was exhausted. She was frazzled, and the thing is, no amount of willpower and discipline was going to help her get it all done. It was just an impossible task. You can't do it all. And so instead of trying to get it all done, what she did was she committed to creating this super habit of weekly pillar execution. And by the end of the year, her 7th in the territory, so she was seasoned, her business grew by almost 20%. That's 7 years in, and she grew another 20%. And she had her best sales years ever. And I love this saying, 2 kids, 1 habit, right? My best year yet. I love it. So the key for her, again, not trying to get it all done, but creating this one super habit. And finally, the last shift, invest in mentoring. Here's the thing. Successful professionals know that time is money, and figuring out how to do something on your own takes a lot of time. And here's the scary part. You still may not get it right. Look, I recently had a CEO of a company hire me, a very successful company. I'm pretty sure most of you, not all of you, but you've seen their commercials, okay? This is a serious company, all right? He hired me to help with strategy and to help his team with the strategy and the training. And the thing is, he has a lot of highly paid executives. There's a lot of money in this company. Could they have figured this out and done this themselves? At some point, they probably could have. But what he realized when we were talking was that, look, every day my team doesn't have this strategy and they're not operating on it, I'm losing money. So instead of spending my high-paid executives and all these people's time into doing what I just happen to know how to do quickly, right? It was actually less expensive, a good investment to bring me in, right? He considered that an investment. And that's why asking who already knows how to do it is the ultimate leverage question. Not how do I do it, who already knows how to do it. Amazing leverage question. You see, mentoring is an investment with a return. It's not an expense. It's not like the software you have or the gas in your car. All right? Whether it's money you spend or time to seek out somebody who's been there, done that, you've got to understand that the large ROI of getting mentorship. Look, I've taken an entire week out of my business, all right, which means I lose all that money to fly to other cities and then pay others to coach and mentor me. I've invested over 5 figures at a single shot just to get assistance with a single aspect of my business. My bookkeeper's like, what is this, right? But here's the thing. I know what that 5-figure investment will return to me instead of me trying to figure it out myself. So look, if you're ambitious, you seek out the best people to show you the way and do what it takes to work with them. I mean, let's be honest. How long have you been trying to figure it out yourself? So today I promised a few things. I promised I'd cover how to crush your income goals even if you've never been a top earner. I've covered how to effortlessly cut through the clutter so you can stress less and feel in control of your business. I've talked to you about how to identify the exact activities needed to earn more by focusing on less. How to go from being good to being successful so you can finally earn what you're worth. How to simplify your business so you can stress less while selling more. How to get off the emotional roller coaster of good and bad sales weeks and start enjoying your work and personal life again. And how to do all of this, even if you're not naturally disciplined or organized. So just to sum it up, here are the shifts you need to make in your business to win. You need to fly in the right direction. You need a strategy. You can't just go, go, go. You've got to manage your focus. You've got to get the highest return on investment for your true limiting resource. You've got to manage your mental energy, your ability to focus, not time. You've got to use the secret weapon. Right? You've got to use the pillar system. You've got to figure out what your pillars are. What are those activities that you control whether they get done, that are measurable, all right, that give you the highest return on investment. You've got to leverage the super habit. You've got to create the one habit of pillar execution so that you can consistently hit these high leverage activities. And finally, you've got to invest in mentoring. If there's any part of this or your business that you're going to have to spend the time and energy to figure out how, Don't do it. Just figure out who. Now, these shifts alone are enough to run a simple, low stress, and much more lucrative business and to crush your income goals. So now you have a choice. You can take what you've learned here and you can chuck it out the window. You can keep getting excited and setting big goals, continue grinding, try to grow your business by just doing more, and keep searching for the big idea or the magic script that will take your business to the next level. You can keep blaming your lack of discipline or willpower, right? You can keep changing directions, coming up with a new plan. You can just put your head down and go, 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 because something will happen, right? Or if you want to start earning what you're worth, right? If you want to start running a simple, intentional business with a lot less stress and frustration, a business that consistently produces large checks, then here's what I have for you. I've set time aside in the next 48 hours to speak with you personally about how you can start making these shifts today. Whatever you think is keeping you from operating this way, I've seen it and helped people overcome it. Right? So during this session, what we'll do is we'll actually lay out a step-by-step game plan to create your simple, low-stress, more lucrative business so that you can crush your income goals and finally get paid what you're worth. Go from being good at what you do to being successful. And we'll lay that out. The cost, absolutely free. Absolutely free. Now, there is a catch. All right? This isn't for everybody. First of all, you've got to be good at what you do. All right? You've got to be good at what you do. You're already good. You just need to become successful. You must have a growth mindset. This is critical, meaning you don't believe that your ability, your talent, your intelligence are already determined. They're already fixed, and that you just haven't found the right idea or the right script or the right product, right? Instead, you have to actually believe that you can get better, that you have the ability to change how you operate, because guess what we're doing? We're changing how you operate, all right? And you've got to have that mindset. You must take full responsibility for your success. Look, my ability on this call to help you go next level, to kind of lay it out for you, that's not really on trial anymore. The track record's there. This call is not going to help you if you blame external circumstances, if you constantly say things like, you don't get it, it's different for me, I'm this, I'm that, right? So we're not looking for that person. So if that's you, book a call now. So why am I doing this? I get it. That's a fair question to ask. Look, I love showing sales pros and entrepreneurs and other results-based professionals that there's a better way. And although you may think it's counterintuitive at this point, the key to earning more is focusing on less. I also know that you might want help creating and executing on your simple weekly strategy. And if so, we'll see if it's a good fit, if I can help you. But if not, that's fine too. You're still going to get a lot of clarity about what you need to do moving forward. So if you want to book a call, just go to productivitygiant.com/call and book that call with me right now. Or if you see a button on this page, you can just click that. And when you click, what's going to happen is you're going to be taken to a calendar where you can pick from whichever of the limited time slots work for you over the next couple of days. And then you'll be redirected to a short application. It's about 6 or so questions, very quick. I just want to make sure this call is right for you. And that's it. I'll call you at our scheduled time. One more thing before I go. I told you a story earlier of Chris, and he was the guy I said was struggling financially and personally. And the reason I bring him up again is just a few days ago, right? He put up a post on LinkedIn where he shared with, I guess all his connections and everything, most of whom know him as a very successful sales professional at this point. He put up how he really felt during the time prior to making some of these shifts. And he used words like embarrassed as a father, embarrassed as a husband, not something you would think most people would share publicly, but I get it. Because look, when you know you're good at something and you're putting in the effort, but you're just not breaking through, believe me, I've been there. It can cause you to question everything, right? You start looking at yourself as the problem. I mean, you become a little ashamed and you become very hard on yourself. And so for me, getting to show people that just making a few slight shifts can make all the difference in the world, and that's pretty exciting, right? That's pretty exciting. And so if I had to leave you with one thing, it would, again, I want to say this: you're closer than you think. Okay, you're closer than you think. It's not about stumbling upon the magic script, the greatest idea, or the great product. It's about making the shifts that I talked about. I look forward to speaking, and if I can, I look forward to helping.